This is a short explanation of the construction problems. So taking a look here, it says you must construct using a compass the following problems. First off, it says in this triangle to the right, the measure of angle RPQ is 88. So you want to trace and sweep angle RPQ. That's like this, like a muscle. RPQ, you sweep at the elbow. So you're told that this angle is 88 degrees. Make sure you put that in the right place. Then measure of angle PRQ is 64. PRQ. P, go to R, go to Q. PRQ, shoulder, right here. You sweep at the elbow. So we're sweeping at the R. PRQ is 64. That's the information you're given. Then you have these three constructions. Construction number one says construct an altitude from point B, P as in Paul, to side RQ. And the intersection of RQ is point J. So from P to RQ is going to be an altitude. An altitude, by definition, so that you know what it goes from corner to right angle. So this is a smiley dimple construction. So you open up your compass, you put your pivot at P, open up, and you just go past the opposite side. And it is a smiley. You have 2 points of intersection. You don't have to darken those points of intersection. I'm just showing it on the recording here. And then you go to dimple. At this point, you can choke up your compass, but don't change your compass setting between one dimple to the other. So you go to one dimple, sweep, the other dimple, sweep. Since I'm flying off the page, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to choke up the construction so that's easier to see. So I've changed my compass setting, but you don't change between the dimples. Sweep. Smiley, dimple. There it is. And this, you can see my other intersection was almost off the page. That's why I changed it. Vertex to that point of intersection, right angle. Put your right angle of both sides. This is an altitude. Starts from the vertex, goes to the opposite side at a right angle, and we were told that that point of intersection is going to be J. There's your first one, first of three. Next one, it says, construct an angle bisector of PRQ, RQ. Extend the angle bisector past PQ, label the intersection H. So it says right here, PRQ, we're going to bisect this angle. We're going to extend it past the opposite side and label that H as in Harry. So an angle bisector is also a smiley dimple construction. So it says PRQ. So that's just a double check. That's PRQ, so we're at the corner R. It doesn't matter how far you open your compass as long as you intersect both sides. So it is, put your pivot at R, smiley. Then you go to one point of intersection. I call that the dimple. Dimple. Go to the other point of intersection, dimple. I'll do it twice. Pivot on R, smiley. Go to one dimple, dimple. go to the other dimple. You get a intersection back here. You line it up. An angle bisector starts at a vertex and cuts the angle in half. So we're matching with that point of intersection. And that is an angle bisector. So that means back here, we are cutting that angle in half. Warning, this point here is not a midpoint of the side. There's only a couple circumstances that it would be, like an equilateral triangle, possibly an isosceles, but don't assume that's a midpoint. Your focus is back here on bisecting this angle. That's number 2. Number 3 says construct a midpoint of side PR. Label it T. Draw in the median QT with a straight edge. So first we're going to construct a midpoint of P to R. So I'm just going to highlight P to R is here. We're going to construct a midpoint. So I'm just going to write the word midpoint. That's what we're shooting for on this side. Midpoint is the double arc one. Doesn't matter where you start, P or R. I'm going to put my pivot on R. You open up just past what looks like the middle of the side. And then it's an arc. And you swing around the other side, another arc. And you should get 2 arcs intersecting. It's very important. You're not drawing a line here. It's not a perpendicular bisector. It's a midpoint. So you are finding a singular point. So you use your straight edge. And I'm going to line up these intersection cross marks. And I'm just going to tick mark a point because it's a point. Hatch mark, hatch mark. I think we call this midpoint T. Yes, midpoint T. And since that's a midpoint, vertex to midpoint, that is a median. Now that you have all 3 constructions, your ambition is this. Your ambition is to find all possible angles. After you have found all possible angles, I specifically ask you to find and explain in detail how you found R, H, Q, R, H, Q. H was this point right here. So R, H, Q is this angle right here that you're going to have to explain. All right, now we have our second construction. It says, finger track and read out loud, construct the following using a compass and a straight edge. In triangle ABC is isosceles with B as a vertex. That's very important you understand that simple concept is if B is the vertex of an isosceles triangle, isosceles, the vertex is the hinge between 2 congruent sides. So if B is the vertex and this whole thing's isosceles, that means A to B and B to C are congruent. That's the definition of a vertex in isosceles triangle. Second thing you immediately need to recognize with that word of isosceles is if you have 2 equal sides, you have 2 equal elbows, 2 equal arms, 2 equal elbows. So you chase it down into the corners. Immediately you know that this angle C, whatever it is going to be the same as angle A, whatever it is. All of this information we simply got from that word isosceles with B as a vertex. First construction, construct an altitude from B to side AC. Label the intersection R. Altitude, that's corner, right angle. We're going to draw an altitude from B to AC. That is a smiley, dimple, dimple. I'm just going to rotate here to make it easier to use. I'm going to put my pivot on B. You open up your compass so that you're just past the side you're shooting for a right angle. And it is a smiley. Then you come down and notice I'm flying off the page here. So at this point, I can choke up at my dimples, but don't change your compass setting between dimples. So one dimple, sweep, other dimple, sweep. This has created a right angle segment from a vertex to the opposite side, that point of intersection. There is an altitude, right angle both sides. And we're to label this point R. And so they're one of three. Next, it says construct an angle bisector of BCA. Stretch the angle bisector to label intersect AB. Label that intersection Q, BCA, an angle bisector. BCA. This is BCA. So we're going to bisect this angle. Bisector is a smiley, dimple, dimple. So I put a pivot on C. Doesn't matter how far it opens, and we're going to do a sweep. There's our smiley. We go to one dimple, sweep, other dimple, sweep. You have a point of intersection here. Right there is your point of intersection. We're going to line this up. That is an angle bisector. So our hatch marks belong back here. That is not a midpoint. Keep that in mind. But we are going to label it point Q. That's an angle bisector. Smiley, dimple, dimple. Last one. It says, label the intersection of BR and CQT. So right here, we're labeling this intersection T. BAR, the angle, BAR is 4 times the measure of RBA. BAR is 4 times. So that's a 4x measurement. 4 times, double check that, BAR is 4 times the measure of RBA. RBA. This is 4 times of that. So this angle right here is just X. This angle is 4 times the measure of that angle. Obviously, you're going to have to solve for X and then find all possible angles. Watch my finger. This will help you solve for X. Touch A, go to R, go to B, go back around, trace that 2 or 3 times, and your brain should go, oh. And once you get that O, solve for X, find all possible angles.